Hello, BookTube. This is my December book haul. This book haul isn't as large as mad as my November book haul. Of course, November is my birth month, so I am allowed to splurge for my birthday. But I did get enough books to cross 1,300, so I now have 1,301 books in my collection. And I'm going to start with the 1300th first book in my collection, which is the last book I got and was a Christmas present. And that was Happy Little Accidents, The Wit and Wisdom of Bob Ross, compiled by Michelle Witte. This is a collection of sayings that, okay, so let's backtrack. So in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a show on PBS called The Joy of Painting. The Joy of Painting was hosted by Bob Ross, the man with the afro, and he would basically paint a painting an episode, and while he painted, he basically would just issue these bits of wisdom. And he presented himself in a very gentle manner. And even nearly 30 years after his death, he is still, when people think about art, they think of Bob Ross. And I am interested in art. I do paint a bit as a hobby, although I haven't really painted as much as I would like the last few months. But one of my aunts thought it would be cool to pick this up for me, and so I got it for Christmas. So moving on, I did pick up a few works of history this month as well, only 4. And if you notice behind me, I did do some rearranging of my collection. This back bookcase here used to be where I had my manga, my Japanese comic books, and I'll get to them at the end of this book haul. But the the middle long shelf, which you really can't see, it's kind of obscured by my blanket and my mattress on my bed, is a bit warped. And so the books on that shelf, unless they're heavy, tend to tip over. And it's been driving me crazy the last few weeks. So I decided to temporarily move some of the history on the big black bookcase that I recently got earlier this year to this bookcase and move my manga back to that bookcase. And I'm hoping at some point in the new year to switch out this bookcase, even though it was built by my brother and I do have some sentimental attachment to it for that reason. I need to get a new bookcase for my manga. One that preferably is as tall and as wide, but which have more rows of shelves, so I can get more manga on there. That would be lovely. I mean, the new bookcase kind of does what I want, but it could use with maybe 2 or 3 more shelves. Well, about 2 more shelves, I think, really would work for manga. So I don't know if I really should look into like a more of a media shelving unit bookcase or something else. So we'll see how that goes in the new year. But anyway, let's get on to the history because I did pick up 4 works of history. First up is The Lion House by Christopher de Bellaigue. And I want to say this is translated. Is it translated? No, it does not seem to be translated. So I'm going to go that it isn't. But this is a biography of Suleiman the Magnificent. And this book has been praised widely, especially by Steve Donahue, which is largely why I picked it up. And I will get to it at some point. I also picked up in that order, and all 4 of these came from Amazon. Bad Gays, Sexual History by Hugh Lemmey and Ben Miller. This is a book form of a podcast run by Lemmey and Miller that looks at various gay men and women in history. And this book particularly looks at those, I want to say they're all gay men, who are not necessarily the greatest role models. See, there's Hadrian, Pietro Aretino, James VI and First, Friedrich the Great, Jack Saul, Roger Casement, Lawrence of Arabia, the bad gays of Weimar Berlin, Margaret Mead, J. Edgar Hoover, and Roy Cohn, Yukio Mishima, Philip Johnson, Ronnie Cray, and Pim Fortuyn. So it's, yeah, so see how it goes. I mean, I would like to get more gay history, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure because I have read a preview of it and the introductions left me a bit queasy, so I don't know what I'm going to make of this book. I will report back when I finally read it, though. And then the last two, they were in two separate orders. The second history order comprised After the Romanovs by Helen Rappaport. This is the history of Russian exiles in the aftermath of the Russian Revolution. Helen Rappaport is famous for her works of Russian history, particularly surrounding the Russian Revolution. And I also picked up a work of American history, Indivisible, by Joel Richard Paul. This is a book that explores how the United States became one nation, ideologically, intellectually, culturally, rather than a collection of disparate feuding colonies and states. Moving on to the cookbooks. I got two cookbooks this month, both of them from Amazon. The first one you've already seen. There was a tag earlier this month that I did that this cookbook was at that point the most recent book that I had ordered, that I had gotten in. And that is The Cook You Want to Be by Andy Baraghani. I first became aware of Andy Baraghani through the Bon Appetit YouTube channel. He was one of the featured chefs. He was also a longtime editor of the magazine. He remained with Bon Appetit after the 2020 meltdown, although he did leave late last year, I think largely to explore other opportunities and to finish the book. I've wanted this book for a few months now. It came out in, I think, April or May, and I finally picked it up in early December, and I've actually cooked one of the recipes from the book. And it was a ginger chicken and rice soup with sizzled black pepper, and it turned out well. I really enjoyed it, so I'm definitely looking forward to cooking more from The Cook You Want to Be. And I also picked up Baking with Dorie by Dorie Greenspan. Now, I know what you're saying. Wasn't this one of the cookbooks you said you were not going to be picking up, that you were going to be removing from your wish list after you did a cookbook-focused version of clearing your wish list? And my answer is yeah, so? After I had removed it from my wish list, I kept thinking about it, and ultimately decided that I really did actually want this, despite the fact that I already have way too many baking cookbooks, and I'm likely to get more. So anyway, but I've looked at it in some more depth, and I'm actually very excited to try some of these recipes. I haven't really cooked anything yet. The first thing I likely will make is some banana bars. They're basically a version of banana bread, but in more of a sheet cake version. I'm looking to try that out. Okay, moving on to fiction. I picked up 3 novels from Alibris. I want to say it was either Hippo or Owls that I used this time. Alibris is a used bookstore website that brings together a number of independent and mid-level chain used bookstores. So the 3 I picked up are The Black Book by Orhan Pamuk. I picked this up in part because at the time I had the nascent idea that I wanted to do a Nobel Prize in Literature project. And I wanted to revisit some of the Nobel Prize winning books that I've read and enjoyed, and some that I've bailed on. And The Black Book is one of those that I've bailed on. I first picked this book up in 2004, 2005, maybe as late as 2006. It was shortly after Pamuk had won the Nobel Prize in Literature. And I didn't quite get on with it at the time, but I'm hoping that a bail redemption will be successful, even if my bail redemptions have not been all that successful this month. Anyway, another work that I want to bail redeem is Berger's Daughter by Nadine Gordimer. I was obsessed with this book all through 2017, trying to get a grapple on it, and I didn't, and I want to give it another go. And I do want to give Nadine Gordimer another look. So, and finally, not a Nobel Prize winner, but one author that I have wanted to read for almost 20 years now, and that is Milan Kundera. This is Immortality. So, looking forward to getting to that at some point in the new year. When exactly, I don't know, since I seem to be trying to drown myself in reading projects. Moving on to poetry. Louisiana State University Press had a 40% off sale late November and early December, and I decided to hop on that sale and pick up some slim volumes of poetry, which is really kind of what I most enjoy out of LSU. Some of their history aren't necessarily in areas that I'm all that interested in, but some of their poetry collections have been really good, especially the Catherine Carter collections that they've put out. And I decided the main reason why I did do poetry with LSU was I wanted to pick up Catherine Carter's first collection, The Memory of Gills. So as far as I know, I think I have all of her work now, unless she's published with other publishers. But and I've talked about these 4 poems earlier because I've read them all, and so yeah, very happy to have it. I also picked up Dear Vulcan by Laura Davenport, which is also a really good collection. I was less fond of Claude Before Space and Time by Claudia Emerson. And I did bail on More Than This by David Kirby. I did pick up another collection of poetry, though, this time through Midtown Scholar. They're an independent bookstore in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that sells on Alibris. And I picked up 3 books from them. Other People by Peter Campion. I want to say this is his first collection. It's Other People, Lions, El Dorado, and Summer Evening at the Falls. I believe so. I've got one more of his poetry collections to pick up, and I'll do that either sometime this coming month or in the near future. But anyway, this was really good. I really enjoyed the collection too. I also picked up 2 of the 2 entries in the Reaction Animal series. which ironically was about a day or two before I read. I had a Bell Redemption attempt at Dog, and that failed, and it kind of soured me all the more on the Reaction Animal series, but I'll read them and see if these are some of the good ones. So I picked up Moth by Matthew Gandy. Wish they would do one for butterflies. And Pelican by Barbara Allen. Now moving on to manga. I got quite a bit of manga. So my manga haul this month came from two sources. Amazon. I want to say I picked up 3 from Amazon, and then 7 I picked up from Powell's. Powell's, the storied independent bookstore in Portland, Oregon, had a number of 20% off sales in November. One was around my birthday, which I jumped on, and another one was later in the month, which I also jumped on, and those books came in early October. Early December. Anyway, so I picked up 2 volumes of The 7 Deadly Sins by Nakaba Suzuki, which I will be talking about later this evening as part of my last weekly reads because I read them this past Saturday. I picked up volume 14 and volume 15. So The 7 Deadly Sins is a series inspired by Arthurian legends. And it features a princess named Elizabeth whose father has been overthrown by the Holy Knights, an order of superhuman knights who have become tyrannical. So in order to defeat the Holy Knights, Elizabeth goes in search of the 7 Deadly Sins, a rival order of equally, if not more powerful, superhuman knights who 10 years previously were accused of assassinating the leader of the Holy Knights and trying to overthrow the kingdom. Elizabeth touches base with and finds the former leader of the 7 Deadly Sins, and together they get the band back together and overthrow the Holy Knights. I've been reading this series for the better part of this year, and I've been really enjoying it. I'll talk a lot more about these 2 volumes later this evening, though, but they were great. The highlight of my reading week. And I'm definitely looking forward to picking up more volumes of the 7 Deadly Sins. I also picked up 2 volumes of Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami, Volume 4 and Volume 5. Jujutsu Kaisen is a series set in the present day about a young man who joins a supernatural club at his school. They're attacked by demons. He eats a bit of a relic of an evil sorcerer and develops superpowers. And an order of sorcerers decide to basically use him as a living collection bin that he would basically go find the various pieces of this evil sorcerer, eat them, and basically once they've collected all of them, kill him. I enjoyed the first volume, and I've been looking forward to coming back to the other volumes sometime this coming year. I also really need to get on My Hero Academia, the next 2 I picked up. I picked up by Kohei Horikoshi. This is volume 7. Love that cover. And volume 8. So My Hero Academia is a superhero-inspired fantasy series, superhero series in which a young man named Izuku is born without superpowers. But his bravery inspires the superhero All Might to grant him his quirk, his superpower, which is one for all. And then Izuku then joins the school for superheroes. I really enjoyed Volume 1, and I'm looking forward to getting to rereading Volume 1 and continuing on with the series. And the last 4 manga I picked up in 2022, and the last 4 that I'll talk about in this book haul, are all Magi the Labyrinth of Magic by Shinobu Otaka. This is a series inspired by the 1001 Nights. It's about a young wizard named Aladdin who travels the world looking for friends and adventure. So I picked up volume 12. This was from Amazon. And I also picked up volumes 33, 36, and 37 from Pals. So I'm pretty much, as far as Magic the Labyrinth Magic is concerned, I need to pick up volumes 9, 10, 14, 15, 21 to 32, and then 34 and 35. Although 34 and 35 will be appearing in my next book haul. But anyway, BookTube, that's my haul. So let's see if I can do a Steve Pyramid. Or how much of a Steve Pyramid that I can get. Because I know I've been wanting to do a Steve Pyramid at the end of these, but I never do. So I think it might be the non-manga, and then I'll do one for the manga separately. So this is most of the non-manga. See if I can get a screen capture of that for my thumbnail. And then my manga. So yeah, so my January book buying will be, there'll be at least 1 work of history. There was going to be 3, but I kind of decided to cancel 2 of those orders and ordered some manga from Pals and then some from Amazon. So there'll be quite a bit of manga. Probably will be a bit more, depending. Could be some more cookbooks, some fiction, who knows what else. We'll see at the end of January what all I pick up. So anyway, BookTube, I'll see you later this evening with weekly reads, where I will talk about the 7 Deadly Sins and Lakota America. So until then, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe and stay warm. And I'll see you later this evening. Thank you, BookTube.